Bible prophecy is active and unfolding daily. Zechariah 12, Isaiah 17, Psalm 83, Ezekiel 38. Here is what the LameStream Media is not telling you. Shalom, my friends. Welcome to this week's newscast. How do you spell Korea? I-R-A-N. And how do you spell Iran? K-O-R-E-A, of course. These two are basically the millennial version of the Bobbsey twins, my friends. Seriously, it seems to me that Iran is making some very large moves. And it looks at present to be the biggest mover on the world stage. Forgive me for sounding like a broken record with this, but this newscast has had a particular flavor to it for more than 3 years now, with the United States and Russia and a couple of other players from time to time, coalition forces, chasing ISIS around the Syrian bloc. And that, coupled with our Intifada updates being full of Molotov cocktails, pipe bombs, gunfire, knives, and other miscellaneous sorts of attacks on Jews throughout Israel. But now we've been seeing this sort of quiet scene where everyone is getting their favorite pieces all positioned properly. A silent surrounding of Israel seems to be all that's been happening this past month. From the Jerusalem Post, Israel intercepted an Iranian-built drone that penetrated into Israeli airspace from Syria last Tuesday. The Hezbollah-operated intelligence-gathering drone took off from Damascus International Airport and was intercepted by a Patriot missile. The IDF is not going to allow any attempt to infiltrate Israeli airspace by any potential enemy. You can be sure that Israel is going to respond to every such threat very clearly. Now, from the New York Times, Iran is enabling Houthi rebels in Yemen to fire missiles into neighboring Saudi Arabia that are more precise and far-reaching. Iran is providing the Houthis with an increasingly potent arsenal of anti-ship and ballistic missiles, deadly sea mines, and even explosive boats that have attacked Allied ships in the Red Sea. Then, from the Defense News, U.S. and Israeli officers broke ground in Israel last week for a permanent U.S. Army air base at the Israel Defense Forces Air Defense School near Be'er-Sheba. The base will house U.S. operational systems to identify and intercept a spectrum of aerial threats. See what I'm saying? Positioning. It all seems to be about positioning right now. Now, this coming Saturday, my friends, we have another one of Yahweh's 7 Moedim happening. And that is his Kodesh appointment with mankind, known as Yom Kippur, or the Day of Atonement. That would be September 30th on our Gregorian calendar. It's a day that's regarded as the Sabbath of Sabbaths. You can look at Leviticus chapter 16, verse 29, or better still, you can click the link I have for you beneath today's newscast in the Read More section about Yahweh's Moedim, the 7 prophetic Jewish feasts. And again, my friends, these are not feasts. They're not Jewish holidays. These are Abba, Father's Kodesh, dedicated, appointments with mankind. He only has 7 of them. 7 appointments with the world throughout all of history. 7 very important appointments that are prophetic in nature about his plan. 7. Do you know all 7 of them? Now, since the rapture did not happen last week, there are those who are now scrambling for another date to set their hopes on, and have discovered that in a Jubilee year, the last trump is blown on Yom Kippur. And if this is a Jubilee year, the last trump will be blown this coming Saturday. Now look, I understand the passionate desire we all have and should have to see our Adon Yeshua in the clouds coming to take us home. And we certainly should be excited beyond description right now, more than ever before. But there are two things I'm seeing that bring me discomfort. First, I see people putting all they have into discovering the exact day and hour. I mean, to the point of ignoring their being washed by and growing in Yahweh's word, and to the extreme degree of ignoring his pitching tents with them. All they can see is, what is it this Wednesday at 4 o'clock? Instead of focusing on pitching tents with Elohim, they're involving themselves in a frantic frenzy, getting into the flesh and trying to own that ticket to paradise. We didn't go home on Yom Teruah. Well, now we're going home on Yom Kippur. And second, I cannot believe how so many are still dancing to a song that isn't even playing. I mean, after I blasted the idea in last Saturday's Walk in the Word, there are still those who are posting comments about how I said the rapture was going to happen and it didn't. You know, these people, they come around and they see something, title, whatever, that maybe has to do with the rapture, and they just come in and post comments without watching the video. People like that get to post one comment on one of my videos, and then they can never post again. Good grief. The level of ignorance is truly pathetic. But that's also part of what's ramping up. The darkness is getting thicker quicker. The way that so many bicker and dicker is getting slicker and sicker. I'm sorry. In any case, Chavarim, this last trump, the one we see mentioned in the most pointed rapture verse in all of Yahweh's word, 1 Thessalonians chapter 4, verse 16, is the trumpet of Elohim. Please take note. This trumpet, shofar, which is blown at the event of the Netchatef, the rapture, is not blown by any man, is not blown by any rabbi, nor is it blown anywhere on this earth. This last trump is blown by Elohim from the Shamayim. So looking at these times of the Jewish rabbis, they're going to blow the Tekiah Hagadolah. Well, in my opinion, everyone would do very well to stop trying to own when. When is then, and then is when. There's no other way about it. Please don't misunderstand me, my friends. I still hold that Yahweh's Moedim always present the exact hours and days of all his Kodesh appointments. And I still hold that Yom Teruah is his appointment for the Netchatef, the rapture. But that does not mean that I think I understand the way he's going to play it all out. Honestly, my friends, I wouldn't be surprised at all if he kidnapped his children well after Yom Teruah, and then, after hearing an indescribable, nearly deafening blast of the shofar of Elohim, we suddenly find ourselves in paradise, only to discover that we arrived before we left, on Yom Teruah. All things are possible with Elohim. I am very excited about where we are, my friends. Last week we saw many Odiot Hagadolah, many high signs. Abba Father Yahweh has just turned an extremely colorful page in his book for us to gaze upon. And because of that, I am experiencing a greater level of shalom, a greater level of peace in my heart than I have ever known before, because I know it really is time. Not only the signs in the heavens, my friends, but the news that I'm reporting as of this past month alone. There's no question about it. We have entered a new and very final chapter in the history of the world. Buckle up and be ready. Forget about when and just get ready for then. Now turning to wars and rumors of wars. On Tuesday, September 19th, from Kurdistan 24, Iraqi forces began an operation to recapture the last remaining stronghold of ISIS in Anbar province near the border with Syria. Iraqi soldiers, Anbar provincial police, and Iranian-backed Shia militia began advancing on the town of Ana on Thursday morning. Their progress was slowed down by booby traps and mines planted by ISIS. Ana, located 90 kilometers, around 55 miles, from the border with Syria, is one of 3 Iraqi towns in the Euphrates River Valley still under ISIS control. Then on Thursday, September 21st, from AFP, Israeli planes targeted a weapons depot belonging to Hezbollah near Damascus airport overnight on Thursday. Israel has repeatedly warned that it stands ready to take military action to prevent Hezbollah from obtaining advanced weaponry. No kidding around. From Kasiyun News, the Turkish army shelled the positions of the Syrian regime forces with heavy artillery in the countryside of Latakia. In response to the bombing of the regime on the sites of the Turkish army near the villages of Beson and Tanzrin on the Syrian-Turkish border west of Idlib. Then on Saturday, September 23rd, from Arutz Shiva, the Turkish military hit targets of the Syrian Kurdish Democratic Union Party and the Syrian regime in 2 separate incidents in response to incoming fire. In line with the rules of engagement, the armed forces shelled targets of the Syrian Kurdish Democratic Union Party around the town of Azaz in Aleppo province. The army also responded to Syrian regime fire on a Turkish military guard post in Turkey's southern Hatay region. Now looking at our Intifada update on Wednesday, September 20th, from the Times of Israel. The IDF seized 6 M16 assault rifles, 3 pistols, 12 pipe bombs, and ammunition in raids conducted in the West Bank city of Nablus. And looking at our review of last week's news, Israel intercepted an Iranian-built drone that penetrated into Israeli airspace from Syria. Iran is enabling Houthi rebels to fire missiles into neighboring Saudi Arabia that are more precise and far-reaching. U.S. and Israeli officers broke ground in Israel last week for a permanent U.S. Army base at the Israel Defense Forces Air Defense School near Be'er Sheba. Iraqi forces began an operation to recapture the last remaining stronghold of ISIS in Anbar province near the border with Syria. Israeli planes targeted a weapons depot belonging to Hezbollah near Damascus airport. The Turkish army shelled the positions of the Syrian regime forces with heavy artillery, and then 2 days later hit targets of the Syrian Kurdish Democratic Union Party and the Syrian regime. And The IDF seized 6 M16 assault rifles, 3 pistols, 12 pipe bombs, and ammunition in raids conducted in the West Bank city of Nablus. And that, my friends, is what the LameStream Media is not telling you. Abba willing, I'll see you here again next week. Until then, stay safe. Shalom.
Crowded rooms, I need more space than I consume. Enough is time alone with you, underneath a naked moon, sharing confidential moods and making chatter. Mockingbird nocturnal sings notations of eternal things, entering the quantum breeze, flying not for want of wings. He lights his gaze on you and me, simply because we matter.